The recording now. Welcome to this second week of the all medium class that started last week. It's a 3-week class. Today for the class, I want to show you in watercolor. We'll do a demonstration of how to do a graded wash. A graded wash, something that looks like this when it's done. So I have recorded a couple of mini videos to show you how it's done. It's always a good idea to practice doing graded wash once in a while. So let me share my screen. And so I have this, now what you're supposed to see is my brush with my hand and my brush in my hand like this. Can you see this, Sylvia? Can you thumb up if that's what you see? Okay, very good. So this video is a graded wash from blue to yellow. And for this graded wash, I used cerulean blue and cadmium yellow light. So it will give a different green in between. So to do a graded wash, I'm doing just half sheet to do this. And to do a graded wash, first I wet the whole area with a lot of water. So the whole section that I'm going to do the graded wash on, I wet it. And this is very convenient and very useful when you want to do, for example, you want to do a nice sky. So here I hesitate a little bit. I wasn't sure what to do next. So in preparation for this, I prepared the yellow, the green, and the blue in those little wells. And to start with, I'm going to dip my brush fully in a lot of yellow. And I start on one end to do the yellow. So the way that I prepared the yellow and the green and the blue is with a lot of pigment. So that's why when I put it on the sheet, it really takes. And now this nice green, so I dipped my brush into the green without even rinsing it because it was going from yellow to green. And then I continue with the green. So this is a green that we cannot get when we mix the ultramarine blue with the cadmium yellow medium, just because it gives a different green. Now with the blue, notice how I washed my brush completely, and I start in the area where there's no yellow at all, and then I go into the yellow. If I were doing it the other way, then my blue, my pure blue, would be tainted with the green. So the graded wash, the idea of the graded wash is to try and do a nice graded color without really having any kind of lines in between. Here I was just cleaning this section. So with this graded wash, now it goes from, let me go here. I think I show it closer to the camera. It goes from yellow to green to blue. And in order to do that, I prepared in advance the yellow well, the blue well, and the green well to go in between. Is there any questions on this? So I'm going to show you another one. So this one's done. I'm going to show you another one. This one goes from, oops, it's a little dark right now. Okay, so this one, the colors that I used are colors that are opposite on the color wheel. So I went with a nice magenta red and all the way to lime green. So in between, it will create a very nice, rich and warm brown. So I prepared the lime green and I prepared the magenta. So in this case, I didn't prepare the mix of the two, but I did wet my paper. Then using all the lime green, I just finishing preparing my lime green there. So using lime green, completely dip my brush into the lime green. I start at one end with all this nice lime green, and I make sure that I have plenty of pigment. So this lime green was made with cerulean blue and canyon yellow light. Now I completely wash my brush to dip into the alizarin crimson. There was just a teeny little bit of blue in this. It's almost pure alizarin crimson. So using this nice alizarin crimson, then I go into the lime green. And you'll see, now that I go back into it, I bring back the lime into the red. Now I clean my brush completely. And using a little bit of the red, I'm going to create this mix of red and lime green that I'm going to put in the middle. And look at this nice warm brown that we get. I don't go all the way to the end because I still want to have the pure lime green on the end there. Trying to get rid of the lines. And always, if there is like an accumulation of water at the bottom, you can pick it up with your brush, but make sure your brush is clean before you start and that it doesn't have any water. So you can wipe it on the paper towel before you do this. So just to pick it up. Any questions on this? Look at the beautiful rich brown rust color that we get in the middle. So this is a graded wash. All right, so nobody has any questions on this. I'm going to close this. And let's see. The next thing that I wanted to show you, two things. Stop sharing. I wanted to show you how, in terms of, the mug that we did last week, well, many of you have shared your mug with me. Thank you very much. And I hope that the critique that I provided was helpful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work a little bit more on my own mug that I did in watercolor and show you how, by enhancing the background, it can actually make the mug pop. All right, so to do this, I'm gonna. All right, so Sylvia, I can see you. Can you see the two teapots? Yes, okay. So on the left is the painting as I had it at first. And I had this handle here on the teapot that was very prominent, but I didn't want the center of attention to be about this handle. But there was a very high contrast between the handle and the background. And as a result, we did not really see this apple here or this pear that's down here. So what I did is I decided to make the background even darker and what happened was that now our eye goes more to the apple and the teapot rather than to the handle of the teapot. I mean, this is not the most perfect painting that I have ever done, but this is to demonstrate how sometimes, even when I paint, I have a hard time. And I keep at it, trying to get to a better state. The next one that I want to show you, I'm going to move this over here. So the next one is the seahorse. So I was preparing this as an example for the classes that I posted on my website. And first I had done the seahorse like this, but I found that this piece of grass, this blade of grass right here, it was kissing the body of the seahorse here, which I didn't like. It was distracting me. And also, I thought the shape of the seahorse was not prominent enough, and all these blades of grass that I had added were taken away from it, because everything was almost all rectangular, like all in like very elongated. So I decided to give a little bit more shape to the body of the seahorse. See that this nice curve here? Now it overlaps the blade of grass, and also simplify the color and make them warmer on the body of the seahorse. And now on the right hand side, I like that one better. And even like this section, which is the top of the head that goes to the back, I made it a little bit bigger and rounder. So these roundness respond very well, much better to what we see in the background, which is the blade of grass. Any questions on this? I'm going to move on to the next one then. All right, so this is a painting I did very recently, and I was painting outside. And on the left here, you can see the painting is not done. The photo was taken on an angle. But when I was at this point, I can tell you I wanted to completely abandon my painting. I hated it. I didn't like the picket fence in the background that I had painted kind of a purpley color. And the birds were very dark and did not really show any kind of form. And this piece of grass that I had put here, these leaves, lime green, they were alone, no other lime green anywhere in the painting, so they were out of place, I thought. But I kept painting on this painting, and I decided to make the picket fence a lot warmer in color. And so I repainted all these picket fence, and I continued them, of course, down here. I added some light and some form on the two birds with legs, which helped. And these leaves that are here at the bottom, they were actually much lower in the garden, but I decided that adding these leaves would help the viewer to be pointed towards the subject, the center of attention, which is the two birds, and it would respond really well to these leaves that were right here on the right-hand side. So as a result, now this painting is a lot stronger in composition. The colors work well, very harmonious. I even put a few leaves here behind the picket fence here and also here, and that works really well. So sometimes when you're at a place where you say, oh, I hate it, just step back, eat a sandwich, which is what I did, and then go back to it. All right, so this one here on the left-hand side was all gray, and I really didn't like the way that it had turned out. So what I did is I lightened it, because there was actually sunlight when I first started to paint it. But then as the day went by, the sunlight went away, and then became all gray and bland. Well, when I looked back at the photo, I saw there was a lot of sunlight when I started painting it. So I re-added the sunlight, and now all of a sudden it's a lot brighter. It's a lot more pleasing to the eye. Now the painting on the right-hand side is not finished yet, but now I know that I will finish it, and I like it better. All right, so this is a painting that I did during my class that I taught last summer in Lucy Larkin Park in Lowell. This was a plein air class, and there were students. So I had done a demonstration, and the demonstration was about at this point when I finished it. And now that I had to enter it in a show, I thought it was not strong enough to actually put in the show. So sometimes just a few things will make a big difference. For example, these windows here, maybe I could put it a little bit bigger. Yes, oops, sorry. So these windows here, they actually were not finished, and when I finished them, I put it's like a piece of cement that's like the ledge. So I put this here. I also, if I go like this, okay, if I go like this. The other thing that I did is this tree here on the left was too big. It was coming forward too much. So I reduced it, and I put some blue into it, some gray blue. And then now it's moving backwards, and it's not too heavy on the left-hand side, as well as this tree here. This tree now works much better than what I had here. The shape was pretty bad. It almost looked like an afro. So I reduced the size of this tree, and I subdued it with some grays, and now it works better. I also added a couple of cars, one right here and another one peeking right here. And now that gives a sense of scale. And this fence was kind of lost here, so I actually repainted the fence, as well as this other one in the front was kind of wobbly, and it had this other little part here. So now I made it straight, and it reads so much better. So as you can see, little things. Oh yeah, and the sky, simplified the sky. I removed some of the clouds and I made it bluer, which made it more harmonious with everything else. So as you can see, sometimes little changes will make a big difference. And now I entered it in the show. It's actually in a show at the brush right now. There's a show in the window. All right, so this is another plein air painting that I did. And when I did it outside, it was like it is on the left-hand side. But there was no shape on this little roof thing that's over the door, as well as the steps had really no shape into them. And I thought that I was missing a little bush here on the right-hand side. So I added the shadow area on the roof, as well as this line here, which gave it some shape. I changed those bushes at the bottom, and I added some shape in the steps in a little pathway in the front. And I added some greens in the tree, which responded really well to the green that's at the back, that's at the bottom. And now that painting came together a lot better. Those are little things, but they help to read the painting better. Now this one is a watercolor one, which when I finished it here on the left-hand side, I really hated that square little table that I had put it on. It wasn't working well with everything else. So I said, well, I want a round table. So I rewebbed the whole section, and I put this round table under. When I did that, now you can see this line here. That's from the table that I had before, but it doesn't really bother me that there is a line here. It could be like maybe there's like a mini tablecloth on the table, and it works really well. The other thing that I did is see here in the vase, so all of these twigs that are in the vase and in the water, they didn't really have any strength, and I added some darks here, which really helped to give this part some strength. I added this shadow here on the table, and in the greens here, I did not touch the flowers, but the greens here, it was a little weak in terms of the greens, the color of the greens. So I added a little bit more leaves and darkness in here and little twigs and stuff. And now this painting on the right-hand side is a lot stronger than what I had on the left. And even though it's a watercolor, I was able to make changes and make it work. When I showed it to my mom, she said, "Oh, can I have it?" I said, "No, Mom, I can't see you right now. You're in Canada and I'm here." All right, so I also painted this same bouquet of flowers with my acrylics, and I was trying to do a lot of lime green that responds well to the magenta and purple of the flowers. But when I was at this point, I thought, oh, this is awful. And so therefore, I thought, well, I got to do something about this background. This background is just, it's too strong and it's taken away from the flowers. So I painted over this, all of this yellow, ochre, and lime green with a nice pale blue. And I repainted the shadow and the shadows here of the flowers. And now on the right-hand side, although this painting is not finished yet, I find that it changed the whole thing, and it made it so that it was about the bouquet, not so much about the background. So let's stop sharing now. I added a lot of blue, and in the blue I added some white. And I also didn't like the bottom part, that rust color. So I've changed it, and I've put this table, and now this this painting it's almost there. It's not quite there yet, but it's getting a lot better than what I had it when I had this rust color at the bottom. Did I answer your question, Faye?
Yeah, I think so. I just
to straighten a line. So now we can see my line here. This line here is not very straight. And in watercolor, there's a way to straighten this. So I'm going to put it this way to do this work. What you need to do this is you need a paper towel, and you need a brush that is clean and a brush that is wiped. So, I mean, I'm using my big brush. It could be a smaller brush to do this. But the important thing is it's almost dry, just a little damp. And so what I do is I go here and I wet the section here like this. And then with my paper towel, I'm going to dry it. So clean brush. I wet the little oopla or oopsie, and I dry it with my paper towel. And also, so now by doing this, I've made this a lot straighter. It's not completely straight yet. But the other thing that I want to bring to your attention is the fact that it's got a really dark line here at the bottom. I don't know if you see, because Janet, you were asking me about this thing, how there's a dark line at the edge of a shadow. And it was on your mug, but this is here. So the other way, the way that you can remove this dark line is by doing the same process here. So dry the brush, wet the line ever so slightly, making it straight, and then dry it with paper towel. It also makes your line much softer and pleasing to the eye. So now that I've done this, you can see that my line is a lot softer. It's still not completely straight, but it's a lot more pleasing to the eye. Now I know that I still have to do this part. So now that the top part is dry, I'm going to do this. But the same process can be applied right here, where there is a bit of a dark line. So I can do this right there. All right, I'm going to add my shadow area, and to do this I think I'm going to go like this. Now the color that I'm going to use to do this is, I'm going to use my smaller brush, is my nice gray that I had made. To make this gray, what I did is I used a very watery blue, not a lot of pigment, and a teeny little bit of my orange. Or this here, this is my orange with a little bit of blue. I don't want too much of it, just a teeny little bit. And it's going to give me gray, nice gray. You can tell this is a nice gray. Maybe just a teeny little bit more of my orange will give me a little darker of a gray. Yeah. So this is very close to what I had here. You can tell. And that's the color that I'm going to use. So I could wet the whole area, but I'm just going to go ahead and paint it. Now I clean my brush completely, I dry it, and I go here to make it a soft edge, because the edge of the shadow is sharp close to the object, but it's usually soft as it gets away from the object. There. So now, oops, it didn't go all the way to the end. So now I have corrected this portion, and if I find this edge too sharp, I can dry my brush and give it a little bit of a wetness here, and now it's softer. And I can do the same here, because here my line is kind of funny, and also, as you can see here, I went a little bit on the line, so I can clean that up the same way that I just did by going like this. I wet this a little bit, and here's my paper towel. So this is how, when you go over a little bit, you can do this. There. So now, see, now it works, except for this. I forgot to correct that one. can do this. And if I want it to be even more orange, I can let it dry completely and go at it again. I'm going to straighten my other section here at the top. Same way. Oh, sorry. I try not to bump into it too much, but I do. So there. Now it looks like this. A lot stronger than what we had it before the class started. All right.